Welcome and thanks for joining us today on a sales leadership webinar program, How to Excel at Sales Even If You Hate People. Our speaker today for this program is the best-selling author, founder of Waltmats Consulting, and sales expert, Dave Lorenzo. As a professional speaker, Dave delivers the best business strategy and sales information to audiences all over the world and has an impressive track record of captivating audiences and delighting event planning professionals. Dave, an expert in sales, is known for his 60-second sales system. We hit on this topic when he did a walkthrough into an imaginary world where you only need a minute to turn clients' no into a yes. 60 seconds is a minuscule time, and oh gosh, he made us say it's possible. I'll go ahead and let Mr. Dave to take over from here to start the webinar and reveal the secret practices to get you home in time for dinner every night. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you so much, Keithy, and thank you for your hard work in putting this webinar together. Well, hello, everyone, and I want to welcome you today to our webinar, How to Excel at Sales, Even If You Hate People. And I will give you some background on why that title is so impactful, so powerful, and so important to you and to me in just one moment. But one of the things I've discovered over the past 25 years of speaking to audiences and teaching salespeople, independent professionals, entrepreneurs, and business leaders all over the world, one of the things I discovered is when you or I walk into a room, the first thing people are thinking of is, who the heck is this guy and why should I listen to him? Now, if you're a lady, they're thinking, who the heck is this woman and why should I listen to them? I'm going to share with you a little bit of a story, and I think it will resonate with you, and that's the reason why I think it might be great for us to have this conversation about driving sales, getting home on time for dinner every night, and being the best you can be while making a great living and living a great life. Now, whenever you take to the stage or whenever you enter into a room to sell to someone, you want to present your bio. You want to tell them how great you are. It's just human nature, right? You're fantastic and you want everyone to know. Well, this is my bio. And this is not why I think we need to have this conversation today. The reason I think this conversation makes sense for all of us is because of what happened right here. This is the corner of 6th Avenue and 43rd Street in Manhattan, in New York City. And I worked less than 10 blocks from that corner. It was a winter day in December 2005, and I was sitting in my office, winding down, getting ready for the holidays. And by the way, I was the managing partner of Gallup's New York office. And for those of you who don't know, the Gallup organization has, they're famous the world over for the Gallup poll. They predict that through public opinion things that will happen based on voting trends and patterns. They use their research to help companies excel in the areas of employee engagement. And my job, for lack of a better term, was to sell big ticket consulting relationships to Fortune 500, 100, and Fortune 50 companies. So this December afternoon, I'm sitting in my office and everything's winding down for the holidays. Things get really slow the 2 weeks before the turn of the year. And my assistant comes running into my office and she says, it's the CEO of, and she gives me the name of our biggest client, pharmaceutical company. She says he's on the phone and his office is on the phone. Then the assistant wants to speak with you right now. So I stop what I'm doing. I pick up the phone and the assistant says to me, Dave, you know that study that the company's been working on, that you've been working on with us for a year and a half? And I said, sure. How could I not forget? We're going to come in and present results right after the new year. She said, yeah, that's the thing. That's what I want to talk to you about today. The CEO wants you to come over and he wants you to give him a high level overview because the day that you're supposed to come present to the management team, he's going to be in China. And I said, you know, this is my largest client, by the way. The client itself is worth over $10 million to our company. This study alone is worth $2 million. So I said, of course, I'd be happy to come over. Let me get the team together, and we'll put the information into a reviewable format, and we will present it to you sometime next week. Which day works for? And I gave the client's name. Which day works for John? And she said, no, you don't understand. He wants you to come over right now. Get your stuff. Walk down the street. They were 8 blocks away from me. Walk down the street and bring over what you got. Spend an hour with him, giving him a high-level overview. Now, my friends, I didn't have any information put together. I wasn't ready to do this. The natural reaction would have been to say, listen, it's in the best interest of all of us. If I don't do this now, give me 24 hours and let me put something together. But it's my best client. So what did I do? I dropped everything. I stopped what I was doing. I said, sure, no problem. I put some papers that were relevant in a file, stuck the file folder under my arm, threw on my coat, walked out the door and down the street by myself to go present these results to my biggest, most important client. He said jump and I said how high. On the way down, while I was waiting for the elevator, I called my wife on the phone, canceled the lunch that we had scheduled, which is not the first time that it happened. So she had alternate plans ready to go. And I walked out down the street, thinking about what I was going to say as I reviewed the high-level information, wondering whether I had enough background information to really be covering this, really concerned that my biggest client, my most important client, had called me and he wanted this done right now, so I wanted to go. I got to this corner right here, the corner of 6th Avenue and 43rd Street. I did what I was taught to do since I was a small child. I looked both ways, went in the crosswalk with 27 other people, and then all of a sudden, the taxi cab that struck me, the New York police, the NYPD, estimated that the taxi cab that struck me was probably going about 24 to probably 28, 29 miles an hour. I flew over 20 feet, and I know this because I read the accident report afterward. I didn't remember anything after seeing the cab come toward me. The next thing I knew, I woke up flat on my back, strapped to a gurney, a backboard, a wooden backboard. I had what looked like seat belts across my chest, my waist, and my legs. And I was being wheeled down the hallway of St. Vincent's Hospital in Manhattan. I'm looking up at the ceiling tiles, and I'm thinking to myself, if I only had a strong enough relationship with the CEO of this company, I could have said, listen, John, it's in both of our best interests. Give me 24 hours to go through my notes to make sure everything's right, and then I'll come over, instead of rushing out into the street. That's the moment, in that 60-second moment, that's the moment that everything changed for me. Everything changed in the sense that I wanted to make sure that I always had strong enough relationships to do what was in the best interest of the client and to do what was in my own best interest. And I've dedicated my entire career, both before this incident and after it, to building relationships. But now, in that 60 seconds, I discovered that I needed to put the relationship first, both for me and for the client. And my friends, I think that's why it makes sense for us to have this conversation today. I think that's why this conversation will be so valuable to you. So thank you so much for indulging me and letting me tell that story. How to excel at sales even if you hate people. Now, I'm going to share with you the story as to where this title comes from. But before I do that, I want to let you know that we've included some goodies in with the information here. In your handouts section, there's something called a relationship report card, and that's my gift to you. You can use it. You need to download it, and once you download it, you'll see some questions in there. It's an assessment that you can take yourself to assess the value of the relationships in your sales portfolio, okay? And then you'll be able to grade yourself based on the outcome of that assessment and determine where you are in your relationship-based sales career. And you can actually even predict how successful you'll be in the future. So be sure and grab that handout. It's in the handout section. I also want to let you know that throughout our time together today, I'm going to make a very valiant attempt at sharing 3 poll questions with you. I've done webinars before, but I've never used the poll feature, so I hope you'll bear with me. I'm going to ask you 3 poll questions, and we'll talk about the results really quickly when the time comes. So as long as the technology cooperates, and my desk is made of wood, so I'm going to knock on wood. As long as the technology cooperates, we'll do some polls and we'll talk about the results of the poll questions. So I've been on social media and I've seen, as the Zoho folks have tweeted about today's webinar, and I've tweeted about today's webinar, people made the comment, oh my goodness, how to excel at sales even if you hate people. Well, if you hate people, one guy said, if you hate people, you should be a zookeeper. You shouldn't be in sales. Now, my friends, here's the thing, okay? If you experience enough rejection, you're going to hate people. I don't care who you are. You could be a ray of sunshine sent from heaven above. If you're rejected a lot, you will wind up hating everyone. Think back to when you had your worst day as a sales professional. You may have made 100 cold calls in one day, and people hung up the phone on you 98 times, and the other 2 times, people cursed at you. I've been there. I know. That's a terrible day. And when you leave the office that day, believe me, you hate people. Well, my experience, the experience that led me to think to myself, man, this can't be how sales is going to be, is sort of similar to that. I left Gallup and I went out to work on my own, started my own consulting company in the middle of what was a huge economic downturn. After being hit by the taxi and put back together, and by the way, I am perfectly fine now. Although I was hit by the taxi and I lost feeling from my armpits down for a good 24 hours, I'm perfectly fine now. I have 2 beautiful children. It's really important for me that you know that I'm perfectly fine. Everything works. After that day, I engineered my exit from a firm that I was a partner in, from a firm that had been very good to me, and I decided I was going to start my own consulting company. Eventually, the Great Recession hit, and I had to go out and drum up business in a way I never thought I would have to do. I was going out meeting people one person at a time. So I went to a networking event, and at the networking event, as soon as I walked in the door, this gentleman comes running up to me. He's got on a short sleeve shirt with a tie. He kind of looks a little like, if you've ever watched the TV show NYPD Blue, Andy Sipowicz, and he says, hey, if you'd like to learn how to shut down all your windows at once in Microsoft Windows, whatever it was, 10, all you need to do is hit control, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and I was shocked. I was taken aback because it was like the guy was assaulting me the minute I walked in the room. And he said, wouldn't you like to take a training class to learn how to do things like that? And I said to him, I'm not really sure. He said, I'm Neil Sims, and that's what I do. I teach people how to use computers. And he was talking very fast, and he was right up in my face. He was so close to me, I could smell his breath. And I was thinking to myself, this is a nightmare. And I said, you'll have to excuse me. And I sidestepped him as if it was a boxing match, and he was looking to hit me. I sidestepped him, and I walked right into the room. And I met 3 other people who were like that. I returned home from that networking event and I said to my wife, there's got to be a better way, because if I have to do this every single day, I am absolutely going to wind up hating people. So my friends, how to be great at sales, or how to excel at sales even if you hate people, is the story about 5 different moments of truth. In those 60-second interactions, every moment of truth, you have the opportunity to either strengthen and deepen a relationship or destroy the relationship, like my friend Neil Sims did when he accosted me as I walked into that ballroom. So today we're going to cover these 5 moments of truth that are powerful times when you can transform your sales approach from a belly-to-belly, cold calling sales approach into a relationship-based approach that will feel more comfortable and will allow you to be yourself and to enjoy the actual process of connecting with clients. That's why 60 seconds is so important, because each of these moments of truth is 60 seconds long. So let's get started with moment 1. And as we roll into moment 1, let me introduce our first poll question. Here we go. All right, I just clicked on launch the poll, and you'll see the poll question up there, or you should see the poll question up there. It says, are you comfortable starting a conversation with someone you don't know? Are you comfortable starting a conversation, disregard that word couple, are you comfortable starting a conversation with someone you don't know? Select from the following, either yes or no. My friends, here's the thing. This is a great lesson for all of us. You see there's a typo on this slide here, and whenever you make a mistake, whether it's in a presentation setting or in a sales setting, I want you to realize that demonstrating some vulnerability, showing that you're human, is a great way to endear yourself to someone. So if you make a mistake, don't try and cover it up. Don't be all bashful and embarrassed. Just say, hey, look, I'm human, and this is proof that I'm human. All right. So are you comfortable starting a conversation with someone you don't know? Imagine yourself in a sales setting or in a social setting, walking up to someone, starting that conversation. How do you feel? I'm looking at the voting, and we've got 72% of the votes in. We're going to give it 15 more seconds, and then I'm going to close the poll, and you might be surprised at the results. 10 more seconds if you want to vote, and then we'll close this up. And we're done with poll question number 1. So poll question number 1, the results are in. 86% of you said yes, you're comfortable starting a conversation with someone you don't know. That's fantastic. That shows me that you're in the right place. Thank you for being here. 86% said yes, 14 of you said no, and over 80% of you voted. So thanks for doing that. So moment number 1, why should you focus on relationships versus cold call, belly-to-belly selling? Well, here are some reasons why. There are 3 market forces that I think are driving all of us to focus on relationships versus belly-to-belly selling. The first is the economic value, right? The economic forces. Originating new relationships or relationships on demand allows you to control your economic future, okay? Imagine that you had at your fingertips a database of 200, 300, 500, or 1,000 relationships, and you could call those people on the phone, and if you called 5 of them, 4 out of the 5 would be interested in what you had to say, and 3 out of the 5 would say, you know what, I like what you're saying to me. I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to buy what you have to offer. The economic value, the economic forces drive you to consider making a change toward relationship-based sales. Now, the social forces are just as powerful. A systemic approach to relationship development leads to consistent revenue growth. Some of us as salespeople, and I used to be this way, are streaky. You wind up having a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks where you close a lot of deals, and then you go through a dry spell, maybe 3, 4, 5 days when you don't have any activity at all. You can't even get someone to pick up the phone and return your call. Well, if you develop a system, and the system is relationship-based, you can have predictable, consistent revenue growth. The final one is competitive forces, okay? As a sales professional, you are highly competitive. I'm sure you are a real hard-charging go-getter, and that's why you're successful. If you don't grow, you'll die. Relationship-based selling, focusing on relationships, that's your edge. So those are the reasons why you should focus on relationship-based sales. Making that decision takes just a minute, but it has a huge impact on you and the success of your career. So, relationships, not transactions. Let's look at the 4 types of revenue here. Take a quick look at this slide. I want you to just look at it for a minute and familiarize yourself with the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so you see at the bottom we have ease of attraction. And this is the time when my computer is going to update. Isn't that perfect? You see on the bottom we have ease of attraction, and on the left side we have value. As we move up in the box or move to the right, ease of attraction it's easier to attract clients. As we move up on the value side, there's higher value. Most of us as sales professionals focus on individual transactions. So if you're focusing on individual transactions, that's ad hoc revenue. You see that down in the left-hand corner of the slide. Ad hoc revenue is I sell something to you today, I move on, I sell something to somebody else, I forget about you, I sell something to somebody else, I forget about them, I move on, I make another deal. That is ad hoc revenue. It's hard work. You got to bang on a lot of doors, you got to make a lot of phone calls, you got to talk to a lot of people. The value of it can be high if you focus on big ticket transactions, but for us, the value of our time is far greater. So it would be better to have, if you look in the next box up above that, repeat revenue. That's the same client with a different purchase. So you sell the A type of widgets, and 50% of your clients need both the A type of widgets and the B type of widgets. So after you sell the A widget to somebody, you introduce the B widget to them. That client is far more valuable because you win their trust over once, and you can sell to them multiple times. You don't have to go back and win their trust a second time. However, with repeat revenue, you have to win the trust that you can execute with the B widget just as well as you can execute with the A widget. Now, if you look to the right of ad hoc revenue to recurring revenue, you'll find that the ease of attraction for recurring revenue is great. It's really easy to work with clients who provide you with recurring revenue because that's the same client and an identical purchase. You work with XYZ organization and you sell paper clips, and you know that they need 5,000 paper clips every month. So you would go back to them once a month, make the phone call, and you say, hey, you're running out of paper clips? They say yes. You'd ship another box of paper clips, right? That's recurring revenue. And the recurring revenue is easy to attract. You know, they know you, like you, and trust you already. So you know that when you win that client over, you can mark down every day or every week or every month X number of sales that they're going to do over and over again. The value may not be as high as repeat revenue because you may not be able to change the price on those widgets over and over again or those paper clips over and over again, but they're consistent and you can pencil them in and it makes you happy. The final box in the top right, where the ease of attraction and the value are the highest, is relationship revenue. And what relationship revenue looks like is when the phone rings and it's your best client and they say, hey, Dave, we've got this problem and we just don't know how to solve it, but we know that you know a lot of people. Will you help us? You say, sure. And then they say, hey, by the way, we have this other thing that we do here and it requires a C type of widget. Do you guys make those? I know they're rare, and lo and behold, they're the biggest ticket in your company. And you say, absolutely. It's like a bag of cash just fell out of the sky. They called you for something else. You offered to help them because you have a strong relationship, and they wanted to know if you did something else while you were there. You weren't aggressively looking for it. My friends, this is passive income, and it's passive income that comes to you because of the strength of your relationship. And that's what we're focused on. So when we're out and we're talking to people, all of a sudden, everyone becomes a great opportunity for us because everyone gives us the opportunity to develop a relationship. Now we're going to get into the specific types of people we're having conversations with and the value those people can provide to us over the long term. And that moment of truth, that 60 seconds could change everything for you, because your next big referral source could be online at Starbucks with you getting a cup of coffee, or they could be on the sidelines with you at your kid's soccer game. Your next big client could be right next to you while you're waiting to board an elevator. That's what moment 3 is all about. Elements of attraction. Now, before we get into these elements of attraction, let's try something else. Let's try one of these fantastic polls. Our second poll question. Let's see how this goes. All right, we're going to launch the poll. And here it is. What percentage of your clients are just like your best client? I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'm going to give you 60 seconds because this is the 60-second sale that we're talking about. What percentage of your clients are just like your best client? Curious to see what you guys answer to this. Let me give you 60 seconds and I'll grab a swig of water. 15 more seconds. Another cute moment of vulnerability there, folks. I thought I pushed the mute button and apparently you could hear me clearing my throat and drinking water. So there you go. All right, we're going to wrap it up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I see you trying to sneak in there. One last vote. Okay, we're going to close the poll out. And watch this. I just learned how to do this. Share results. Look at that. All right. What percentage of your clients are like your best client? Less than 20%. 42 of you. Wow, that's high. More than 20%, but less than 50, 36%. More than 80%, more than 50%, but less than 80%. That's 13% of you. And more than 80% of you, 9% of you said that your clients, more than 80% of your clients were just like your best clients. So those of you who have clients who are just like your best clients, congratulations. That's fantastic. That makes life a lot easier. But the rest of you, the rest of us, need to focus on attracting clients who are just like our best clients. And that's going to be the focus of our next 2 moments. So moment 2, we talk about the elements of attraction. We talk about how you can attract people who are just like your best clients and how you can develop relationships with them. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements of attraction that I want you to think about. The first one is what I call external orientation. Now, you may have heard this before. I didn't invent this term. External orientation means you're more focused on the needs of the other person than you are on your own needs. Think back to Neil Sims, the guy who almost made me hate people, the guy who accosted me in that ballroom. He ran up to me and jumped all over me and wanted to sell me into a course on Microsoft Windows. As you could tell, I practically don't even use Microsoft now. I'm an Apple guy for better or for worse. So Neil was the guy who was focused on himself. Now, he led with an idea that was probably good. He tried to give me some education, but I didn't want the education he tried to give me. So his external orientation wasn't very well tuned. It wasn't finely tuned. If you have an external orientation, you're focused on the goals of the other person and helping them achieve their business goals, and you're helping them become successful. Your external orientation is that you provide value to people, and that value helps other people become successful, and that's your underlying belief. From the minute you sit up in bed and swing your feet around and they hit the floor, you're focused on helping the people in your world. That's your mission. The second thing that's important is visibility. You could be the greatest person in the world for solving a particular problem with your product or service, but nobody knows about you. And your solution to that right now is probably going out making more calls. Or your solution to that right now is going out and meeting more people. Meeting people is good. Meeting people in mass is better. You have to find ways to increase your visibility, or you'll never be able to connect with enough relationships to achieve your true potential. Your credibility also has to be high. You have to do what you say you're going to do all day long. If you want to be able to increase your credibility, here, I'm going to give you 3 ways to increase your credibility right now. 3 things to focus on. First thing I want you to do, I want you to do what you say you are going to do. If you say you're going to meet somebody at 2 o'clock, you meet them at 2 o'clock. You don't meet them at 2:05. 2:05 is late. That hurts your credibility. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to say please and thank you. I want you to be nice to people, okay? If you're nice to people, folks who refer you will realize they can trust you with their best clients. Think about that for a minute. You're a salesperson. I'm a salesperson. Even if you're a business owner, even if you're the CEO of a Fortune 100 company, you're selling to people every day. You sell to employees, you sell to your family, you try to get your kid to clean his room, you're selling, right? People sell, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. If you're not nice to people, people aren't going to like you. I want you to say please and thank you. The third element of credibility, super important, stop talking smack, okay? Don't talk about people behind their back. Stop talking smack. Your credibility takes a hit every time you talk about somebody when they're not in the room. So credibility is critically important. Value is phenomenally important. What value do you bring to the table in every interaction? You come home after work, your wife has been working hard all day, or your husband has been working hard all day, your spouse, your significant other has been working hard all day, you've had a rough day, you got to bring some value to that relationship when you come home. You got to show that person you appreciate them. If you don't, your relationship loses some value. Every interaction, every 60-second interaction you have, you either build your value up or you tear it down. You have to think about every interaction as an opportunity to enhance your value, the value you provide to somebody else. The final element of attraction is differentiation. There are a million people out there who do what you do. There are a million people out there who do what I do. I've got some good stories. I've got some examples that can help you, and I've got a system and a formula that you can apply each and every day. That's what makes me different. What makes you different? When you're out there in front of your client, what makes you different? Why should they work with you instead of working with anybody else who does what you do? And my friends, if the answer is price, that's a disaster. It can never be about price. So those are the elements of attraction. Now, let's talk about how you can start a sales conversation with anyone. How you can start a sales conversation with anyone. Here's how I developed this. I'm in the car with my wife one night, and we're going to a birthday party, and it's a birthday party for a friend of ours who's worked at 3 different Fortune 500 companies. And my wife says, listen, I want to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. There's going to be a lot of people here in companies who need help with sales. I want you to be able to talk to people, and I want you to be charming. So it's really important that you be gregarious and you learn to connect with people. So what I did was, a long time ago, I came up with this script that I could use to connect with people, that I could use to start conversations, and I found out it worked really well for sales. And that's what helped me go from being an introvert to being the top person in selling at the Gallup organization and at Marriott before that, and now on my own. So this script that I'm going to share with you today is a conversation you can use in a social setting, but it's also a conversation that you can use to start a sales conversation in business. And here's how it works. The first thing you do when you walk up to someone, you make a little small talk. You say, hey, how you doing? How do you know so-and-so if you're at their house? How do you know Joe? Oh, I know Joe because blah, blah, blah. Or you walk up to them and you say, hi, my name is Dave. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. Look at the weather. Isn't it crappy? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then you get into, what do you do? Hey, what do you do for work? What do you do for a living? Now, why do I want you to ask what they do for a living? Well, first of all, we want to get them talking. They need to talk 70% of the time. We want to listen 70% of the time, and we only want to talk 30% of the time. So we got to get them talking, and everybody, mostly everybody, likes to talk about what they do for work. So you say to them, hey, what do you do? What do you do for a living? What do you do for work? And they tell you. And then once they tell you that, no matter what they say, I don't care if it's the most uninteresting job on planet Earth. I don't care if it's the most boring job you've ever heard of. You say, wow, that's fascinating. How did you get into that? Wow, that's fascinating. How did you get into that? Now, about half the time, they'll have a great story. They'll have a wonderful story about how they got into that line of work. And they're off to the races now. They're telling you everything about themselves. They're telling you how they got into the business that they're in. They're telling you all about what they do. They're thinking to themselves, this person is great. They're so interested in me. And by the way, while they're telling you this, you maintain eye contact. You're looking right at them. You're nodding your head, telling them how interested you are with your body language, right? And then you say, let me ask you right now, how's business? How's the economy treating you? How are things going? And they're into this. They're into the conversation. They're going to tell you, okay? Now, at that point, you want to shift from focusing on the business to focusing on them and what's going on with them. And so what I usually do is I usually say, well, it sounds like things are going well, or, well, it sounds like you're handling all that stuff really well. What are you hoping to accomplish this year? Or what are you hoping to accomplish right now as we do this webinar? We are in the month of May. We're at the end of May, and the summer's coming up. So I would say to people right now, hey, listen, we're almost halfway through the year. What are you hoping to accomplish in the rest of 2018? And the person will tell you. Or you could say, I have the term up there, what are your goals? This is the thing. they're going to be so into the conversation that when you ask them what their goals are, or when you ask them what they're going to accomplish, you're going to get some really great answers. Now, what you've done is you've gone from broad questioning to narrow questioning. And when they tell you what their goals are, I want you to ask them, what do those goals mean to you personally? What are you hoping to, why is it important for you to achieve those goals? How will that change your life? Why do I want to ask this? Why do I want to ask how those goals will change their life? Because I want to make this conversation personal. If we find a way to help someone personally, either in a work setting or outside of a work setting, we've got ourselves a relationship. You're already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions in, and this person is spilling their guts to you right now. They're telling you everything that's going on in their life, and it's fantastic, and they feel great while they do it. I know, because we're sitting here, we're reading questions from a monitor, we're reading questions from a script. You're thinking to yourself, my gosh, this sounds like a deposition, right? I work with a lot of lawyers, and when I first introduced this to them, they're like, oh my gosh, this seems like a deposition. Seems like I'm interrogating this person. My friends, it seems like that now because we're not having the conversation. When I ask these questions to someone at a cocktail party, when I ask these questions at a networking meeting, or when I ask these questions of a CEO when I walk into his office and I meet him for the first time, he's been talking for 10 minutes before I get to the next question. When I ask him what he does, obviously I'm not going to ask the CEO what he does, but if I'm at the cocktail party and I ask them what they do, and they tell me, and I say, that's fascinating, how did you get into that? And they tell me their story, that's a 3 or 4 minute story in most cases. And then I say, how things going? How's business? That's a 3 or 4 minute answer. At least business is good. We're hoping for some more deregulation. The industry has been overregulated for so long. We're really hoping things work out. Oh, that's great. What are you hoping to do the rest of the year? How are what are your goals like for the rest of the year? It's funny you should ask that. We just had a meeting about it the other day, and they go on for 2 or 3 minutes. Then you get to the point where you start asking the money questions. These last 3, I call them the money questions. What will achieving those goals mean to you personally? So you want to increase your sales by 30% this year? That's wonderful. Why? I know it's your job to do it, but what difference is it going to make to you? There's a line from the movie Wall Street. I don't know if some of you, most of you may be familiar with the original movie Wall Street, where Bud Fox, who's the kind of the apprentice, says to Gordon Gekko, who's the guy who taught him how to game the system, he says, how many boats can you water ski behind, Gordon? What's enough for you? That line is what I think about when I think about this question. What will achieving those goals mean to you personally? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to make that goal happen? That's when you find out, well, Dave, I got a kid going to college in the fall, and if I increase sales by 30%, I'm going to get a big bonus. And that bonus will pay the tuition for my kid for the entire year. That's when I know I'm getting to the heart of what makes this person tick. That's when I know I'm getting to the heart of this relationship. At that point, I turn to that person and I say, that's interesting. Would you like some help with that? Or, wow, that sounds like a really important project. Would you like some help with that? Now, this question, would you like some help with that, stops people in their tracks. The reason is because we all want help, but nobody likes to ask. Think about that for a moment. We all want help, but nobody likes to ask for it. So when someone out of the blue, who's just getting to know you, asks if you'd like some help with that, they're stunned. It's as if you just splashed a drink in their face. And they'll say to you, what do you mean? What would that look like? What are you talking about? And that's your opportunity. That's your opportunity. Now, if they say something and you can't help them, you don't have a product or service that's helpful to them, or you're not sure if you can help them, it's perfectly acceptable for you to say, well, let's think about it. Who could I possibly introduce you to that could change everything for you? That's an alternative question to, would you like some help with that? So if they say, I'd love to increase sales, I tell them, well, listen, would you like some help with that? And they say, well, what do you mean? And I say, I know a lot of people. I'm sure I could introduce you to some people who would be your ideal customers. Would that be helpful? I mean, who's going to say no to that, right? Notice that my response there was not to pitch them a product. I help people with sales. I teach people relationship-based selling. But I didn't say to him, oh, I could teach you how to sell better. What would that sound like if I said it? That would sound, first of all, I'd sound like a pompous doofus if I said that. But second of all, if I offered my services right then and there, he would think this whole thing was superficial and it was just a pitch. And it's not. I really want a long-term relationship. So I offered to introduce him to people who could buy his stuff to help him increase his revenue. Okay? If he's in manufacturing and he needs to be more efficient, I would offer to introduce him to someone who is an efficiency expert. Or I would offer to introduce him to someone who had a piece of equipment that could make things easier for him. What I'm doing is I'm putting the relationship first. I'm using my external orientation and I'm focusing on helping him. That's how you start a relationship. And this is your script for doing it. All right, let's move on to moment 4, selecting the ideal client. Remember that poll we just did 5-10 minutes ago? 42% of you, 42% said less than 20% of your clients were ideal, right? You got some great clients, but half of them stink. Half your clients stink. That's what that poll told me, right? 36% of you said more than 20% of your clients, but less than 50%. Actually, if you add those two numbers together, that's 70% of you said half your clients are not like your ideal client, okay? Here's how you can connect to make sure that you focus on the right people. There's 4 people who matter in our world as business leaders, as sales professionals: suspects, prospects, clients, and evangelists. Most of you have heard this before, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. We're going to get down to the nitty-gritty to how you can select the best of those people. Let me give you the definition. Suspects are people you believe, you suspect would make good clients one day. You're not sure, but you believe they'd be good clients. So let's say your best clients are taxi cab drivers, and you sell insurance to independent taxi cab operators, and you're going to a convention of taxi cab drivers, and you're speaking at that convention. You know that 25% or 30% of your clients, really good clients, are taxi cab operators. So you suspect those people will be good for you, okay? Prospects are people who have actually shown some interest. So you go and you speak to those taxi cab operators and you say, listen, I have an opportunity for you. I have a checklist here of 5 things you can do tomorrow to lower your taxi cab insurance rates. Everybody who wants that checklist, come see me after the speech, give me your business card, and I'll be happy to hand out a checklist to you. The people who hand you their business card, those people have gone from suspects to prospects. They've self-converted from suspects into prospects because they're interested in lowering their insurance rates. You know you can sell them insurance. Now, the people who actually come to you and say, I need insurance, let's talk, and you sell them insurance, they pay you money for it, those people are clients, okay? Suspects are people you think might be good clients. Prospects are people who show interest and convert from suspects into prospects, and then prospects go to clients when they pay. You know that, we all know that, good. We got the definitions out of the way. Now, evangelists are people who would never have a need for your service or never use your service, yet they refer people to you like crazy. So the mechanic who works on taxi cabs, who talks to cab drivers and independent cab company operators all the time, who refers you people to insure their cabs, that person is an evangelist. He doesn't drive a cab himself. He has no need for taxi cab insurance, but he sends people to you all the time because he knows you, he likes you, and he trusts you. So clients and evangelists are who we're focused on. That's who we're focused on. Now, a client is always a client. If they pay us for our product or our service, they're always going to be a client. An evangelist is someone who's never going to use your services or who hopes to never use your services, but they refer people to you all the time. I use an example of a good friend of mine who's a criminal defense attorney. I hope to never need his service, but I've referred 5 people to him in the last 5 years, people who, for one reason or another, have run afoul of the law, either with tickets or with, an unfortunate incident where they had a little too much to drink at a party. I refer people to him all day long because I know him, like him, and trust him, but I've never had a need for his services. I'm an evangelist for him. So those are the 4 people in your world. Our focus is on conversion. So if you look at this chart here, you'll see suspects convert into prospects, prospects convert into clients. And here's what we can do with clients. We can deepen our relationship with clients so that the clients do higher value transactions, so that the clients purchase from us more frequently, or so that the clients refer business to us. As we deepen our relationships, hopefully all three of those things happen. With evangelists, as we deepen our relationship, we increase the frequency with which they refer business to us. So those are the four people who are most important to us. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to think about the evangelists and the clients who are your absolute best, the evangelists and the clients who are your absolute best, and I'd like you to answer these questions, because these questions will help us determine who your ideal client is and how you can get more of them. Okay, so the 70% of you, the 78% of you who said that half of your clients are not your ideal clients, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about who your ideal client is right now. Who does he or she trust? Besides you, who does he or she trust? What in their industry? Who's the industry leader? Who do they trust? Do they listen to a certain radio show? Are they a Rush Limbaugh person? Are they a Howard Stern person? Who do they listen to? Who do they get their news from? Where do they spend their time? Who do they trust? This trust is important because you have to be able to get into their head. You have to be able to enter the conversation that's going on around their kitchen table every night. If you can't do that, you can't attract more of them. What does he or she read? What do they read? Do they read industry trade journals? Are they looking for the people who win the trade journal award or the industry award every year? What do they read? Do they study? Do they read business books? Do they read sales books? Do they read motivational books? What do they read? You got to read that too. You got to be able to have a conversation with them, so you have to read what they read. What groups is he or she a member of? What do they belong to? Where do they feel like they fit in? Is there a secret desire? Do they have a secret desire? Everybody who I know who opens up a franchise operation hopes to open up 5, 6, a dozen franchise operations. Nobody buys just one McDonald's, my friends. They want to buy 30 McDonald's. Is there a secret desire? You've got to know this because you've got to be able to help them. What angers and frustrates them? I mentioned regulation earlier, right? And we've got an administration in the White House here in the US right now that's obsessed with cutting regulation. Every business owner I know thinks they're overregulated, whether they're a banker or a taxi cab driver. They all think they're overregulated. That frustrates them. What frustrates your client? Is there a bias to the way they make decisions? What does this mean? If you've ever worked with someone from the consulting company McKinsey has a decision-making model that they beat into the heads of their new hires. They force them to make decisions based on criteria that is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. You'll hear that from McKinsey people over and over again. That's how they make decisions. When you work for Marriott, there are systems and processes and standard operating procedures for everything, including making certain decisions. If your clients have a way they make decisions, a process they follow, you got to know about it. You got to understand that process. Is there an insider language? What is the industry jargon they follow? The industry jargon is so important. If you don't know the industry jargon, they'll be talking about things and you'll be clueless. You might feel stupid. I don't want you to feel stupid ever. I want you to always be comfortable. So study their language, understand what they're saying. What are they missing? What are they missing? Are they working 10, 12, 14 hours a day and they're missing the lives of their children? They're missing the soccer games. They're missing having dinner with their family. Are they missing out on things that they could be enjoying? What can you help them take part in that they're missing? And finally, the old, tired question, what keeps them awake at night? Look, my friends, that's a terrible question to ask when you're meeting a CEO for the first time, but you better know the answer to it, because if you can help your client sleep like a baby, you've got a relationship. You've got yourself a relationship. So these 10 questions, 1 through 10, are how you get inside the mind of your client and how you select more clients who are just like your best client. If you know, for example, what your client reads, you'll know where you should be writing articles and publishing them. If they read a certain if they read a certain website or a certain blog, they follow a certain person, and you have the opportunity to post an article on that blog, you'll be in front of people who are just like your best client. If they attend certain conventions and you can speak at those conventions or maybe even sponsor some of those conventions, you'll be in front of your best client. Answering these questions is the key to getting more clients who are just like your best clients, because you'll go to the places they are, you'll write what they read, you'll speak their language, and you'll solve their problems. Okay, before we get into moment 5 and we wrap up, I want to remind you of 2 things. One, we're going to do another poll. We're going to do our final poll of the day, and I'm also going to take your questions. So there should be a question section. I want you to put your questions in there, and I'll answer them at the end. And I'll do my best to get to all of them as quickly as we possibly can. And I appreciate you hanging in there with me, because it looks like everybody's still with me, so that's fantastic. Let me roll out the next poll question. Here we go. And the next poll question says, I know exactly what to do to attract more clients like my best client. I know exactly what to do to attract more clients like my best client. All right, we're 15 seconds in, and already 25% of you have voted. That's great. I'm going to give you another 45 seconds while I take a sip of water. And that time I hit the mute button. How about that? Okay, so we've got 10 more seconds, and then we're going to close out the voting. It looks like everybody's voted. Another 5 seconds, and I will share the responses with you. I know exactly what to do to attract more clients like my best client, and we're closing the poll now, and we're going to share the results. And here we go. Let me drag this over. Come on now. There you go. All right, let's take a look. I know what to do to attract more clients. I know exactly what to do to attract more clients like my best clients. 1% strongly agree, 31% agree, 31% are kind of neutral, 27% disagree, and 10% strongly disagree. Okay, interesting results, and it's interesting because 30% of you agree that you know exactly what to do. 1% of you strongly agree. So that tells me that maybe you know what to do, but you don't know what to do consistently, right? You don't know what to do all the time. 31% of you are neutral. You're like, Dave, I really don't know what you're talking about. I just put my head down and make the calls. And look, that's what most people do. I understand. 30% of you, 27% of you disagree, and 10% of you strongly disagree. So I'm going to share with you now in moment 5 the system. Okay, setting up a system. This 60 seconds, this moment of truth, is really important, and it's one of the things that changed everything for me. And I'm going to share the system with you in the few minutes we have remaining. Okay, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. The detail is in the book. You see on the top left-hand corner there, the 60-second sale. The book comes out in July. It's going to be in stores the first week of July. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on barnesandnoble.com. The 60-second sale goes into detail about the step-by-step guide to setting up this exact system. Okay, how can you be engaging? Have a genuine. We've covered these topics already. Having a genuine desire to help. Being intellectually curious. That's asking questions about people and being actually honestly curious about what their responses are. Using your personality. Don't hide your personality. I am loud. I make mistakes, especially with my spelling, and I tell people when it happens that I've tried my best, but I make mistakes. I leverage what I have. I leverage my personality. Leverage your expertise. You're an expert, not just in sales and selling, but you're an expert in your product or service and how it helps people, and you offer people practical guidance. Offer them guidance, offer them specifics, tell them what they need to do in order to solve their problems. And then growing relationships. Now, this is where the system comes in. Frequency of communication builds trust. So you have to be able to communicate with the people in your network, with the people you know, on a regular basis. Imagine the most important relationship in your life. Relationship with your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your spouse, your most significant other, the person who you care about the most. You talk to them daily, probably multiple times a day. What would happen if you didn't talk to them for a week? What would happen if you didn't talk to them for a month? What would happen if you didn't talk to them for a year? You wouldn't have the relationship anymore. Yet we sell something to people and then we forget about them and we send them a card at the holidays and then we go back to them and try and sell them something else and they say, who are you? What are you talking about? Or we're aggravated, we're pissed off when they don't refer us, right? Well, you haven't talked to them in a year. Of course they're not going to refer you. What are you, nuts? Frequency of communication builds trust. Education equals motivation. So teach them what they need to know for the industry, show them better ways of doing things, help them solve their problems, and they'll be motivated to be around you. Finally, entertain them. Make sure they want to be around you because they like you. Remember I said they buy from you when they know you, like you, and trust you. You have to be entertaining. My friends, we're all in the entertainment business. If I sat here and read the slides like this and was monotone and just said frequency of communication builds trust, education equals motivation, entertainment equals engagement, you'd go to sleep, you'd tune out, you'd exit from this webinar and you'd go do the million other things you could be doing right now. So I gotta entertain you. Maybe you're here because you want to see me screw up the poll. That's fine. I'm being entertaining. Maybe you're here because you're like, this guy's yelling at me on a webinar. Nobody yells at me on webinars. Maybe that's why you're here. Maybe you're here for the stories. I'm being entertaining as best I can because I want to keep your interest. I want you to be engaged with me. And this is the way you have to be with your clients. You don't have to be a wild maniac. You don't have to be a lunatic, but you got to be able to tell them a good story. You got to be able to share an anecdote with them. You got to make them feel good when they're around you. Now, here's a system that's going to allow you to do this. You have at least 250 people in your natural network, the people that you know, okay? So if you were going to have a party or a wedding right now, you'd invite 250 people. I have what's called the Rapport Max system. The Rapport Max system is a communication system where you keep in touch with people on a week-by-week basis, send out a weekly either email newsletter or a printed newsletter or a video once a week. 20% of the people will read it. Sometimes that 20% will vary. It'll be different each week, but you'll stay in touch with people and they'll be interested, they'll be entertained, they'll be engaged, and that frequency of communication will build trust. That will lead to them calling you with relationship revenue, and you'll be able to close more deals. It'll also develop more intimacy. So your clients will purchase from you more frequently. Remember, we talked about that? They'll buy higher ticket items from you. They will refer you more often. Your evangelists will refer you more often and they'll go into your natural network. If your company does advertising, the advertising will drive people to you. If you want to write articles or speak or network or use social media or have a website, a personal website where you blog, all of these things could get people interested. But what drives them to you is your offer of something called a honeypot. A honeypot is an engagement device. It's something you offer to convert suspects into prospects. Remember I told you when you were speaking to the taxi cab drivers that you offered them a free report on how they could save money on their insurance. Everyone who wants the free report, pass me your business card. That free report or that checklist is what I call a honeypot. You can use it when you're publishing an article. In your byline, it says, this article is by David Lorenzo. He's the author of blah, the free report, 15 ways to increase your sales. If you'd like a copy, send an email to, and that's how they get the honeypot. If your company does advertising, convince them to do advertising that gets people to take action and offer the honeypot there. If you're speaking from the stage in front of a group of prospects, you can offer your honeypot. If you're networking, offer the honeypot to everyone who gives you their business card and then you send it to them. On social media, you can offer it to all your connections, all your friends, all your followers, all your Instagram buddies. Everyone should have their own website. I don't have time to get into the details about why, but you should all have your own personal website and you should all be blogging, putting an article up every week, and then at the end of the article, offering your honeypot to people. This system is detailed in my book, The 60-Second Sale. The book is on sale right now at Amazon. You can pick it up for $25. And you will discover how you as an individual salesperson can get speaking engagements, can publish articles, can even leverage social media, your primary internet presence, which is a website. You can gain more evangelists, close more deals. That's what the book is all about. And systemizing your approach to sales is what allows you to take control of your future. My friends, we've been together now for an hour, and I'm going to share my contact information with you. I want to remind you of a couple of things. The relationship report card is our gift, my gift, and Zoho's gift to you. Make sure you download it. It's in the handouts. My contact information is there. You can find me on Twitter at David Lorenzo. Don't forget the hashtags we talked about, right? The hashtags for Zoho, you can tag Zoho at Zoho CRM. Use the hashtag Zoho CRM, the hashtag Smarter Sales. Make sure you talk about what you discovered on this webinar, and you could win a free surprise. The best tweets, the 5 best tweets that include the hashtag Zoho CRM and Smarter Sales will get a special surprise from the sponsors of this webinar. My friends, it's been an honor to be with you today. I really enjoyed this presentation. I really enjoyed learning how to use the technology and sharing my information with you, having this conversation. And with that, we'll conclude the webinar and we can take some questions. Okay, let's take a look here.
Sure.
Bear with me, folks. Technology is not my strong suit. A lot of my prospects start out over email. How can I encourage them to set up a phone or video call? Great question. Thank you, Sarah, for the question. Awesome question. So I actually like it when prospects start out over email. So Sarah, we talked about the honeypot, remember? And let me go back to that slide so we can take a look at it real quick since I have it right here. Okay, see in the middle here, the honeypot? What I would do is I would create a free report that highlights exactly what value you provide to your clients, Sarah. And I would take the email and I would reply to their email. And I would say, you know, you could have an asynchronous conversation with them, asking them what some of the challenges they faced were. But even more importantly than that, I would say to them, listen, you reached out to me because you had this specific problem or this specific issue, or you wanted to achieve these specific goals. Let me share with you my free report, 5 ways to do X, Y, and Z. And then let's follow up with a phone call after you read the report, and I'll answer any questions you have that way. So when it comes to converting people from email into real life conversations, delivering that honeypot, delivering something of value to them first is a great way to get them off of email and into a real life conversation. Thank you very much, Sarah, for that question. I really appreciate it. So now let's go to Linda. Linda says, okay, simplifying administration for clients is applicable to so many industries. Narrowing that down to a target market is difficult. I don't know who my best client is. Very common, Linda, and it's not unusual for me to hear that from people. Here's what I would do. I would look at clients who've been with you for a while. I would look at clients who are repeat clients. I would look at clients who may be recurring clients, and I would call 2 or 3 of them up and ask them about the value they receive from your services. And when they tell you about the value they receive from your services, you'll start to understand what you're doing for them and how it affects them personally. And that will help you build a profile of other people that you can impact, other people whose lives you can impact, other people who you can provide value to. So figuring out who your best client is can be as simple as looking at purchase patterns and behavior and then talking to them and finding out why they purchase what they purchase and what their relationship with you is like. And then you can look for other people who are just like them. Let's see what else we've got. No questions, just a thank you. Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Todd says thank you. Thank you, Todd. Vince says, should I ever present my offering in the first meeting or gather more information for later and present a custom presentation? Vince, great question. Okay, so I'm going to give you the drowning man analogy here, Vince. So if you're walking by a swimming pool and there's a person in the swimming pool and they're yelling, help, I'm drowning, you grab the life preserver and you throw it to them. So if you're in that first meeting and you're with somebody who's got a problem you can solve, they've got the ability to make a decision, and they have the money to pay you, you help them right then and there on the spot because they're the drowning man in the swimming pool. Anything other than that, unless somebody comes to you and they say, listen, you're that person for me, you can help me, anything other than that, I would advocate you slow down, take a step back, and really demonstrate value before you ask for the deal. Okay? So Vince, the analogy I want you to think of is I want you to think of you on a hot summer's day here in South Florida with me, and you're meeting me at the other end of the pool, and you're walking by, and there's a guy in there, and he's flailing, he's going, Vince, help me, I'm drowning. Grab the life preserver and send it to him, give it to him, throw it to him, make sure he grabs it so he stops drowning. In that case, sell him something right there on the spot. Other than that, if there's people on the side of the pool, you don't push them in and give them the life preserver. You talk to them about why they're there, what they're doing, and what it means to them personally. Okay, Vince, thanks for the question. Really good one. Jervis says, hi, Dave. Glad to have attended the seminar. My prospects have a long lead time to buy my services, 7 to 9 months. Is there a way I can shorten this process? Maybe I need to change something I'm doing. Could you please tell me what you think helps in these situations? Jervis, fantastic question. And that's exactly why I developed the system that I developed, because my lead time in big ticket consulting was like 12 to 18 months, and the minimum deal we would do was $1 million. So, people don't spend $1 million overnight. Here's a quick story for you, Jervis. And I put this in the book. My CEO walked into my office after I had been on the job for 3 months. And the CEO says to me, listen, I got a situation here. My brother-in-law just divorced my sister. He was, a senior level person in the company, and he also stole my best client. He's like, I hate this guy. I want you to go get that best client back. And if you do it in the next 60 days, I'll give you a $50,000 bonus. At that point in time, $50,000 meant the world to me. $50,000 is a lot of money, but at that point, it was a big, big deal. Plus, I was 3 months into the job. I really wanted to show this guy what I could do. So I said, don't worry about it. I'm on the case. And I went through my contacts. I went through my natural network and looked for people who worked at this company, at the target company. I found a couple of people who worked at the target company. I met with them. One of them was an ambitious woman who wanted to get ahead in the company, and I asked her what she needed in order to advance to the next level. And I helped her advance her career by making a presentation based on some work that we had done in the past, based on the research we had done. And she had the buying authority to end up working with me. She invested $1 million in me after I helped her prepare a presentation that got her a promotion, and we did that in 60 days. So Jervis, here's the thing. There's 2 ways that you can impact your sales cycle. The first way is to get out there and meet as many people as possible by speaking and publishing and getting in front of the right amount of suspects and convert them to prospects, and keep communicating with them. Keep sending them educational information and keep reminding them about the value you provide without beating them over the head to buy your product or service. So educate them, remind them of the value you provide, conduct your own events and invite them to your own events. That's a way that you can get in front of more people, and it'll make the sales cycle seem shorter because people will be interacting with you more frequently, and everybody won't be on the same cycle. So after a year, people will start to come in to this month, to next month, to in 2 months or 3 months. And what'll happen is you'll be closing deals all throughout the year versus chasing just one deal. The second thing you can do is provide value to people when they need it immediately, but you have to be providing value to decision makers. So you got to start as high in the organization as possible. Go after the CEO, send information to the CEO, and I don't care if it's a Fortune 100 company, he'll push you down or she'll push you down to the right place you need to be. And as long as you do that, as long as you get to the right place, people will have the authority to make decisions quickly. One third thing I'll tell you, Jervis, never ever sit down with anybody unless they have the authority to make a decision. And there's ways that you can qualify them in advance. I don't have a lot of time. I can't get into it here. I put it in the book. So don't sit down with anybody unless they have the authority to make a decision, unless they have money in their budget to pay for your services, and they have a problem you can solve. Those are the 3 ways to qualify people. Those are the only people you sit down with. You can educate other people. You can connect with other people through articles and sending them your weekly email or your monthly printed newsletter, that sort of thing. You can connect with them, but don't invest your personal time unless people are qualified with those three things: money, the ability to make a decision, and they have a problem you can solve. And I put how to qualify those people in the book, The 60-Second Sale. Go out and get it when it comes out, and you can shorten that sales cycle that way. I think we have time, Keithy, to take one more. So let me look. Let's see. Is a presentation ever okay in a first meeting? Sure, that's Vince again. If it's a drowning man. A lot of my clients are international clients and therefore predominantly communicate through email. How do I impact the Rapport Max system with them? I think we covered that. You have to email them frequently. Todd says thank you. I think we got them all, Keithy. I think we're good.
Yes. So any more questions? Maybe we'll wait for 5 more minutes, Dave, so that in case if
Okay.
people want to ask questions.
All right.
Quickly.
Folks, these are some great questions. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. I really enjoyed doing this. The questions were fantastic. Big ticket sales or long sales cycles. As I said, there are a couple of ways to combat that. What you want to do is you want to get in front of people in mass. So in that sense, speaking and publishing are great ways to go because you can get in front of more people. If you have the ability to be a professional speaker or someone who speaks to groups, even if it's a group of 10, that's 10 people you could convert from suspects to prospects. So 10 is better than 1-to-1. As I told, I think it was Vince or Jervis, getting in front of people 1-to-1, only do it if they have money, the ability to make a decision, and a problem you can solve. Sarah says thank you. Sarah, you are very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Folks, let me remind you again, come on, slide. Let me remind you again, go on Twitter at ZohoCRM, hashtag ZohoCRM, hashtag Smarter Sales. The best tweets get a fantastic surprise.
So it looks like everyone's questions have been answered. Meet you soon on our next webinar series. Thank you so much.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.